And I'll welcome Cameron. How you going, mate?
Good, thank you, Dave.
That's good. Derby Day was okay. Hopefully more of the same on Tuesday.
Yeah, David was great actually. I was really keen on two horses that the members would have hopefully all backed in Scholes and Rich Charm. And Rich Charm's just a great sprinter. He rates really high and he tries his heart out and he loves the straight. And so seeing him charge down the middle was fantastic. Late yesterday afternoon. That was a really good day in the end.
Yeah, and a good result. What about, we'll get stuck into the Cup, but is it likely to be a betting race for you, or is it just another race?
The Cup itself.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a betting race, and there's I don't have anything clear. I have had things clear in the past. I was really keen on Protectionist the year he won, for example. But this looks an open Cup, so yeah, whilst it is the Cup, it sort of still is just another race. It's a lot more interesting than and a lot more people watch it and such. But I still bet it the same way. Bet my overlays and and things like that. And I'll certainly play the exotics as well. I don't play the exotics that much anymore, but on a race like this I will, because you can these days at Flemington you can get some bonus in the dividend for sure.
Okay. Depending on what size screen people are viewing this on and whether it's live or the replay, hopefully that column AO is visible. And we're going to start with your top rater, and that's number 22, Rekindling. You've got around about $6.40.
Yep, I do. I'll just my top 10. I'll just scroll down. You can see my top 10 here with price. Ignore that need column. That means nothing. So that's my top 10. We'll go through each of those in order. I'll start with Rekindling, go Johannes Vermeer, and so on and so forth. But that's them in a nutshell. But I'll just go down to Rekindling. Now, I did this race earlier today, this afternoon, and there's a lot of overseas horses in the race, obviously, and Rekindling's one of them. Now, his form here, I download their form off the Timeform website, and I've got a method of converting their Timeform ratings into my ratings, which you can see here, and hopefully that's clear enough and visible. But I made this conversion several years ago now, and it works really well. They line up really well, converting their figures into mine, and so I now have all the overseas horses form in there, as I say, from Timeform. So all these runs here, whilst they're not rated by me, the Timeform ratings are pretty reliable and can convert very well, as I say, into my scale. So he has had not many starts. He only had 8 starts in his life, and you can see his ratings progressed up. That was his first prep here when he was doing 92, 96, 96 early on, and comments here which come from Timeform. They're saying he should stay, etc., etc. Then it went out for a spell and obviously improved quite a bit because it's only a 4-year-old. In England, it's actually a 3-year-old, 4-year-old by our dating. And then came back with 110s, had one bad run only, and then 112, 115, 117. I love this progression when you've got a lightly raced stayer, and I absolutely don't think you've seen the top of him as yet. I watched this replay earlier today, this race at Doncaster, and he was back. It was quite a solid pace, and he was back in the pack, and he was actually held up for a good part early in the straight, but then he did get out, and he kept coming nicely. It was a nice run. The winners were a couple of lengths in front of him, but he was only beaten about 2 lengths, and he really found the line solidly enough for me to say that's not necessarily his top. He doesn't have a brilliant turn of foot, but he'll definitely stay, and he does it. He's not one of the English, one pace. I think he's 117 to 118. There can be more improvement. He's going to get the perfect map from Barrier 4 for Brown. He was well back in that race, but there was only 10 or 12 in it, whatever it was, 11 runners. And he was well back in that race, but he can position up closer. Brown could go back or could settle midfield from the barrier. He gets his choice, and the long Flemington straight will suit. He's thrown him at 51.5 for mine, and I've improved him a little bit more up to 118. And for me, with the 51.5 kilos, that makes him the horse to beat in the race. And he's about 12 to 1 at the moment, so $13. I'll just have a look what he is here on another computer.
Well, why do you do that, Cameron? Do you often get a double overlay in the Cup, or especially with the top rater?
You probably don't get a double overlay top rater that often. So you can get double overlays, but they're more the roughy, a roughy like say, Boom Time in the Caulfield Cup, that kind of thing, where it's not your top pick, but you think the market's got it wrong, and it might be 50s and you might be $15 or something like that. But yeah, no, it's a little bit, it's a bit more rare to get a double overlay top pick because, your top picks, the market tends to get things pretty right. I just think they've underestimated this one a little bit. And I do expect money to come for rekindling. I won't be the only one who's found it. And there's no certainty or anything like that. I've got him $6.40. I think I have top pick. And so he's the leading chance, and at $13 best at the moment. Well, that's Bet365, so that's a myth. But $12 everywhere else. He's just a really good overlay in my opinion.
Okay.
They'll back other horses too. So, but I think money will come for him.
How do you look at that preparation where he's basically had one start a month for quite some time?
Yeah, well, that's what they do, isn't it? Really, you're right. He's raced once every month there, hasn't he? But that's what they do, and he's had it'll be 52 days. It'll be, as it says over here, 52 days between his last run and now, but that ties in with what he's done in the past. I think it's okay. But we've never seen a horse, except for Vintage Croc, we've never seen a horse win the race without having had a run in Australia. But it's a bit of a myth that as well, because lots of horses have run second and been very, very close, and it's only a matter of time until another one does it. And I've got no problems with the 52 days. They'll have got him right, hopefully, and he's in a good stable, and hopefully, if he's right, and if he runs up to 117 or so, he's with 51.5 kilos, he's going to be really hard to beat.
Okay, so rekindling on top.
Sorry, yep, I do. So that's him. Yeah, that's all right. So that's him. We'll go on to the second horse.
Yep.
My second pick, which is Johannes Vermeer, another overseas runner, but he's obviously had 2 runs here since. Now you can see where he's probably a good example of the ratings, lining up. In that, he progressed in his early runs overseas. He got up to 112 and got up to 115, 114 here and here, obviously, and then he came out here and he was really good, 116 first up. Excuse me. And he didn't get a great deal of luck here in the Caulfield Cup when he went 113. Now he's another lightly raced one. He's 5, so he'll be a 4-year-old by their age, by their dating. And I don't think necessarily we've seen the top of him either. When I see a horse on my ratings do this, where they have 113, 115, 114, 113, that means that's what Mark, or even back here, 112, 113, what Mark would call, Mark Reed, they used to call it a base. So they've got a real base around that mark. And so if a horse is doing a mark like that over and over again, it means that they're comfortable doing it. And if they're comfortable doing that, then it's not their top. They've got another level to come at some point. So if he does have another level to come, then it's going to be up around this 100, somewhere between 118 to 120. 120 would be absolutely the top of what you could say about him. So you watch his replays. I saw this run here, 116. He does first up, and it was not suited. It was a slightly slow pace, and Galo Chop got away with a very easy time in front, and he came from back and was by far and away the best closer in the race in that one to come second. And that said to me, okay, well, if he does 116 not suited, then there is 118, 119, 120 somewhere there in him on the day when everything goes right, when he gets things right. And then things didn't go right for him here in the Caulfield Cup. He wasn't beaten far. He arguably should have finished closer. It was a bit of a biased track that day, which helped our boy Boom Time win. But that was a good run with not much going right, and from a good gate 3, and Melbourne's now had a ride on him. He could go back, but he could push on and sit midfield from that gate if you want to. I have to push him up a bit higher because I think that, as I say, that there's more in store for him, especially on the back of that 116 he did. That was a 116, as I said, that wasn't suited, and therefore he's got something better in when he is suited. And so I'll push him up to 119. I think he's in well as well at 54.5, and I think he'll get the trip. He hasn't done it yet, obviously, but on a 2,000 metre run, he looked like he had no trouble with it, and he was still finding the line over 2,400 metres when not much went right. I certainly didn't want to pot him at the trip anyway, but because he hasn't done anything like 120 yet, I ended up at 119. It's the figure I gave him, and that makes him the second pick, but pretty much the equal second pick with, if we go back to here, Humidor, who there's not much between those two, obviously, in second pick there. So we'll go on to Humidor if you like.
Yep.
Unless there's anything about Johannes Vermeer that they needed to know or anything.
Not at the moment, no, other than... there's a question from Elias who said, what about the big field? I actually think it's referring to rekindling. What about the big field with the top pick? Yep. Worst run was with 18 runners, all other starts, less runners.
Yeah, well, he has, yeah. So they tend to have been against against smaller fields over there a lot of the time. He's in a big field, but hopefully half of them are behind him. Frankly, I mean, from barrier 4, Brown shouldn't go back too far. If he has gotten back in some, but he can posi up a bit closer too. And so hopefully he's only got 10 in front of him, right? And and the others all behind him. It's also the jockey's job to make sure they keep him out of trouble and things like that. So he was 4th out of 11, and he got a bit lost in that field there last day out of 11. And he had this one bad run, but I'm not going to blame that. It was a big field. I'm not going to say that was necessarily the reason he did it. I'm happy just to take that chance with him, basically.
Okay. So you're going to mention, or going to run through Humidor's form.
Yep.
You work heavily off ratings. How do you assess the likelihood of him being able to bring Cox Plate type rating, to repeat that next starter, particularly over 2 miles?
Yeah, well, that's the big question mark. And Humidor is a very, very good horse on his day, and unfortunately his day isn't every time he steps out. Back here, he looked really good winning the Australia Cup when he did 116, and we really looked to have been getting him going here, and then this day, he might not have really handled that heavy 9 track up